I hope you had a great week, and thanks for joining us on Retiring Well. Our team here at Centennial Wealth Advisory has mapped out a great show for you this week. First, retirement planning can often seem like such a big thing. We're going to talk about small steps you can take to break that apart and plan for your retirement. Then, I want to talk about consumer confidence, consumer sentiment. What does that mean? What are some of the things that and let's relate that to real world. Boy, you see help wanted signs everywhere today, don't you? Let's talk about the labor force in today's economy and how that may relate to your financial future. And finally, to wrap up the show, we're going to be talking about different strategies to get into tax-free investments, tax-free income. Doesn't that sound good? Stay with us. Coming up next is all this and so much more.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, we meet with a lot of different couples each and every week. And they could be at any different point in their retirement journey. Maybe they're 10 years out from retirement, or 5 years, or maybe they're just a few months out from retirement. But one question is always there is, how do I start planning for retirement? And so for today's segment here, I'd like to talk about the different steps that you should be taking to make sure that you get some peace of mind when that retirement time comes around the corner. Okay, so let's start with step one. Step one is to develop that budget. No matter where you're at in that retirement journey, you want to develop a budget. You want to know, okay, what are my income sources? And what are my expenses? So some of those guaranteed income sources could be, maybe it's Social Security, or maybe you're one of the lucky ones that have a pension, okay? So that's your guaranteed income sources that are out there. Now compare that to your expenses. What are those expenses going to look like in retirement versus right now when you're not retired? So maybe when you're retired, the mortgage is going to be paid off, right? That's going to help with those expenses. But we really need to know what those are. So what do you think utilities are going to cost you? Food. Also, you've worked your entire life for this retirement. What are you going to do for fun in this retirement? Okay, so you want to make sure you include that in your budget. Let's go over just a random scenario here with a couple. Let's say that your total income guaranteed with Social Security is going to be $3,300 a month, or about $40,000 a year, okay? But then your expenses, let's say that those amount to $60,000 a year, okay? So that's a $20,000 shortfall. That brings us up to step two. Where are you going to get that money to meet your needs in retirement if you don't have enough guaranteed income? Okay, and so that's where we got to determine, well, how much money do you need saved for retirement to maintain that lifestyle that you want? Okay, now there's a general benchmark rule out there. They call it the 4% rule. So you take 4% of whatever you're saved for retirement, and that's considered a more conservative or safer withdrawal rate. Okay, so let's take this couple for example. Let's say that they need $20,000 a year in retirement. Well, for them, based on that 4% rule, they would need to have saved about $500,000 to draw from in retirement. Okay, and we wouldn't know that if we didn't go with step one and develop that budget. Okay, so step two, determine how much you need to save for retirement. And then step three, is find an advisor, find somebody to help you along the way. No matter if you're just starting about thinking about retirement or you're a month or two from retirement, sit down, talk things over with a financial advisor to make sure that everything is all lined up and ready to go for when you're ready to retire.
When I was 19 years old, I went and got my pilot's license. You know, my prefrontal cortex was not developed. I didn't care about the small steps it might take to creating a financial plan because I wasn't there. You know, I wanted the adventure, the challenge of flying myself or a couple friends, you know, around Michigan or across the country. And so as I got older and my prefrontal cortex started to develop more, I realized, wow, I really want to look and start with the end. Okay? okay, I need to start with the end in mind. I need to work, what are my life goals? What am I trying to accomplish? Why am I here? And let me back that all the way up to where I currently am. And once I started to get that framework, and as I started to take the time to map that out, there was a lot of areas that I felt and saw I was deficient in. And so then we started tackling those. I started saying, okay, here's what I need for an income potential, in my retirement. Here's what my investment strategies should be. I don't want all my eggs in one tax bucket. Healthcare plan, legacy plan. I don't want my young children to have a financial windfall through my life insurance when they don't have their prefrontal cortex developed. So I created a trust and said, hey, at age 30, you might be able to get some of these assets. But the point is that, it's never too early to start planning, start thinking, start with the end in mind, and then start taking little baby steps to putting that in your plan. And I know, Nick, you got to teach on that subject. Do you have some more stuff to add there?
Yeah, and I'm assuming, Jack, you didn't do that all by yourself, right? You went out and got some advice from other people, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's where you find a financial advisor, find somebody that you trust, that you can sit down with and go over all these different aspects of your life and, in general, retirement planning. You don't know what you don't know, right? We've said that so many different times on the TV show. How do you know if you're missing out on something if you don't even know that that's something you could be missing out on? So please don't hesitate to reach out to the number on the screen. Give us a call. We'd be happy to sit down and do that free, no obligation consultation and go over all those different aspects of your retirement plan. All right, stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about consumer sentiment and labor in today's economy.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we take a holistic approach to your retirement planning. So it's not just looking at what your investments are, but what is that long-term income plan for the next 30, 40 years of your retirement? What about taxes and what role they play in your retirement plan? Estate planning, what about life insurance, health insurance planning, all key areas to consider when looking at your retirement. So please visit our website or call the number on the screen. We'd love the opportunity to sit down with you for a no-cost, no-obligation visit.
I want to take a few minutes here and educate you and talk about a topic that we often look at here and you hear the national media talking about quite a bit. Consumer sentiment or consumer confidence. I'm going to talk about them pretty much as one and the same here, but I'm going to tell you the difference. Consumer sentiment is basically a survey of 300 households done by the University of Michigan, and it's a national survey, and it's going to come back and talk us about people's feelings about the economy. Consumer confidence is a survey done by about 3,000 households nationally, and they're asking similar questions, but about 40% of it is currently focused, and about 60% is looking ahead to the future. Now, let's bring this down to maybe more kind of something you can relate to. Imagine peeking your head over the neighbor's fence and the neighbor starts telling you about how great things are going for them. They just got a promotion at work. Their wages are gone up. Their wife just got a raise at her job. And you know what? They're now shopping for a new house in a higher scale neighborhood, and you're thinking, wow, they're doing great. Things must be really good out there. It makes you feel good about maybe the economy, hearing how others are doing well. Now let's turn that story around. You peek your head over the fence in the following year, the neighbor starts talking and says, just lost my job. You know, I went to work on Friday and they laid me off. I had no hopes of going back likely in the foreseeable future. And then their spouse, their hours got cut, and they start talking about the variable rate on their maybe home equity loan is going up, and they're just not sure how they're going to make ends meet. And maybe you start questioning yourself, wow, are things bad out there? Even though it might not directly be affecting you, you hear of these stories. We're creatures of habit out there, and we hear all these different things going out there. That's consumer confidence, consumer sentiment. Why is this important? 2/3 of our GDP, or our economy, is made up of you and me going out and spending money and feeling good about things. Typically speaking, if you're not feeling good about the economy or the future of the economy, you might hold back on spending. You might not go out and book that vacation or buy that extra thing or do that discretionary spending out there. So not always, that isn't always the truth. Sometimes spending still happens even though people don't feel good about that. So now when you start hearing people talk about consumer confidence and consumer sentiment, you have an understanding of what that is. So again, how are you feeling about things? What is going to drive some of this? Businesses look at this to determine maybe some of their productions and forecasts going forward. They want to see how people are feeling about these things and know if they have that. Again, if you don't have a retirement plan, or you're not sure how that maybe max up, or you don't feel confident about your plan, just like maybe some of the consumers today, give us a call, give us an opportunity to meet with you and talk about our free no obligation visit to help you plan to retire well.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
So Art Canfield and I grew up in Traverse City here together, about a mile down the road from each other.
John and I have been best buddies since we were in kindergarten.
Met each other in kindergarten at Glen Loomis Elementary.
I still remember one of the earliest memories of John and I connecting way back in our kindergarten class.
We always would have sort of a business mindset when we were trading our basketball cards and football cards of, okay, what's the value of this versus that?
We had all these dreams of playing in the NFL together.
He was the center on the football team. I was the quarterback.
I've been protecting him my whole life, you know, and so now we get to do it in the business world.
With a low bass, here for the thrill, I don't need a chaser. Wanna vibe it to get away. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah,
each of us stood up in each other's weddings, and now we've enjoyed seeing our families grow together and spend time together.
Working with John and Art is awesome. The camaraderie that they have, the banter that you hear on a day-to-day basis is just, it's so much fun.
They're very authentic. These people are in it for the right reasons, and they're really genuinely doing what they can to help people. That, to me, makes all the difference, that I can feel good about the work that I do working with them.
Who they are as people, their values, they truly want to help people. That kind of permeates through the whole culture of our office.
Being so similar but different in certain ways is such an asset, not only for our team, but also for our clients, to be able to have, I think, our experience in valuing relationships so importantly.
Something that's so vital within business is having that trusting relationship. As Art and I have had that trust built over the past 35 plus years now, so we have that confidence knowing that if I'm not there to make a decision, you've got a business partner that you trust implicitly to make those decisions and not question at all what direction that he's going with it or the business is going. So it's just been sort of a dream to be able to work alongside your best friend.
If you're still in the workforce and working today, it seems likely you might be in a position where your employer, or if you're a business owner, you're looking for help. You can't hardly drive down any street in Main Street, USA today and not see many help wanted ads, it seems like. So what does that mean for the economy? What does that mean for you as an investor? And what are some of the things that when we hear the talking heads out there, what do those mean? Well, some of the metrics that often are talked about is obviously unemployment rate. What is the percentage of people that are looking for a job as a percentage of the workers as a percentage, right? What does that rate look like? Well, in 2022, that percentage kind of bounced around from about 3.5% to 4%. So pretty low for the most part. You obviously, during poor economic times, recession, back in 2020 when we had the pandemic, you saw that unemployment rate surge, right? You had a lot of people out of work as a percentage to those that were working. So they say that high unemployment. So now when you hear that, you might have a better understanding of what they're talking about. The other metric out there that's interesting is they call it labor force participation or workforce participation. What is the percentage of people that are working or looking for work in comparison to the population of 16 and older? So it kind of hit a high point, if you will, a high participation in the early 2000s. It hovered around 68%. So we had about 68% of 16 and older either working or looking for work. Today, that number is about 62%, so we have a little bit less participation. Well, why is that? Well, there's nothing specifically scientific out there that has it. There's some opinions of what that may be. Maybe more people have retired and younger hasn't come in yet. Maybe there's just folks that just don't want to work at this point. So there's various things, but again, that participation. Total workers or total number of people is a number you'll also hear. The interesting thing is even though the participation rate is down a little bit, the total employed people is about at its high. So our economy is creating more jobs and when you look over time. So we have rising jobs available. So just because the participation has dropped doesn't mean there's not as many people working. It's just as a percentage it's different. So what does this mean going forward? If you have help wanted signs everywhere, it can restrict some businesses. Maybe they have to be open less. You see this in the restaurant industry sometimes, right? They might not be open on maybe Mondays or Tuesdays or a slower day. So could this lead to lower corporate profits for places? Potentially. If they don't have the labor to make their widgets or sell their products, it could lead to some disruptions. We see that in the supply chain, right? So this is definitely something to keep an eye on, a metric that we watch here at Centennial Wealth Advisory often. And again, if you wonder how this plays a role or you have questions about this or your retirement plan, give us a call at the number on the screen. We'd love to talk to you for a free, no obligations visit here at Centennial Wealth Advisory.
Hey, I love those segments on consumer sentiment, labor in the market right now, in the economy. And as I was listening to that, I thought, hey, really it's focused on how do people feel. I know in my years teaching that there would be a plethora of different reactions, and that may or may not be the true feeling of what was actually happening on the inside. And so if you're sitting there and you're watching the news and you're seeing all these headlines and depending on what news you're listening to, you're talking to your neighbor, there's probably a lot of different emotions and maybe even confusion that you might be sitting there having. I'm going to go back just a couple years when we were doing this work, and clients would come in and they were pretty confident about their retirement and what that would look like. Now we have people coming into our office, and at the end of the day, when we get down to what they're feeling, we're seeing a lot of, hey, I'm scared and I don't know what to do. I was planning on retirement and now look at what's happening out there. And so I think for us, it gives us even a bigger opportunity as a financial advisor to help, acknowledge those feelings, but then also to put a plan behind it. It's like, okay, here's what we're going to do in response to your current situation. I get that you're feeling this way, then maybe this is a route that you want to go, or this is a different route that you want want to go. You know, we get to lead with teaching, and that makes them feel much better about what their situation is. I know, Nick, in the Gaylord office, you just had a recent case like that.
Yeah, I had a recent case where a client came in, he was a new prospect, and he started the meeting off by saying, Nick, I am down 24%. I didn't think that was possible with my current portfolio. So he didn't understand how much risk he was actually taking. His advisor that he had didn't lay this out for him. And with the market that we find ourselves in, he was totally shocked to lose almost a fourth of his portfolio. And that's something where here at Centennial Wealth, we're going to go over risk. We're going to make sure that you understand how much risk you're actually taking with the funds that you've worked your entire life to save for retirement. So that's why it's just so important to make sure that you're comfortable with not only what's going on with the market, but what's going on within your own portfolio. All right, coming up next, we're going to be talking about strategies to maximize tax-free wealth. You don't want to miss it.
Remember when life was simpler? When things didn't move quite so fast, and the world didn't seem so complex? Remember that? We do. And as the world around us has continued to speed up, becoming more complicated, and still a bit uncertain, we have managed to keep things simple, providing sound, easy-to-understand financial advice and customized roadmaps for the road ahead, from tax reduction strategies, investment advice, and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, backed by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies. We can be your single point of contact, a single call, a voice you recognize well, and a partner who can be by your side for the entire journey. We can't stop the world around us, but we can help ensure you're prepared for what's to come. To schedule a no-obligation meeting, simply contact us today.
If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
When it comes to maximizing tax-free wealth, Roth IRAs are a very valuable tool. And you want to try and start as young as possible. And we can't stress that enough. Starting to save when you're young is going to be vital. And I'm not sure how many 16-year-olds are tuning in right now watching this, but maybe you have a child or a grandchild that you may consider helping. And the IRS, in order to contribute into a Roth IRA, requires you to have earned income. So there has to be wages, salary, tip, etc. And so, as an example, let's imagine that you're 16 years old and had $2,500 of income for the year. Well, 100% of that could be contributed into a Roth IRA. For 2002, the maximum that you could contribute into a Roth IRA was $6,000 for a younger individual. So, and for a minor, states will typically require that a parent or guardian is sort of the co-signer or co-listed on that account until their legal age. And so we have an example of a client who, when their child was young, they started basically matching whatever that child was earning and contributing that into a Roth IRA. So early on, instead of giving them a cash gift, they were helping to contribute that into the Roth IRA. And so even during their early working years, they were helping them along in building this Roth IRA. And so now this Roth IRA is built to tax-free and built to a sizable amount when he's still, in his 30s at this point. So during your early years of earning may also be a favorable time to be contributing to the Roth IRA because you're in a lower tax bracket. So you're not getting as big of a tax deduction for contributing into, say, a traditional IRA where you would get that tax break. So let's say, for example, you're in a 12% tax bracket now, but then in your higher earning years, you bump into a 22% or higher bracket. That's where, again, you may want to be contributing while you're in that lower bracket. Also, Roth conversions may be a valuable way to look at if you have traditional IRA funds and making that transition from a taxable account over to a tax-free account. What about if you're in retirement, you're in the 12% tax bracket, but if you're questioning maybe tax rates will be going up, or what if you're considering, well, what if my spouse passes away? Now what tax implications am I going to have on these retirement accounts? So all these play different factors into an overall retirement plan, and we feel that tax planning is a vital piece. So if you have questions, please reach out. We'd love the opportunity to sit down and talk further with you.
What another great segment there on tax-free wealth. Nobody wants to pay more taxes than they have to. And you know, when I think tax-free, I think Roth accounts. And one of the big questions that I get quite often from our older clients is it too late for me to have a Roth account? And it's not. It's never too late to start planning for that tax-free growth and actually legacy as well in opening that Roth account. You can do that at any point in time. However, you got to have some tax deferred money to do those conversions. Once you're retired, you're older age, you're not working, you don't have that earned income anymore, you can't make those contributions to the Roth account, but you can do those conversions from an IRA or from a 401k. But it's my favorite account because once you get that money in there, you pay the taxes on it, but then it grows tax-free for the rest of your life, and then also passes on to your beneficiaries tax-free as well. But there's lots of other different tax-free investment vehicles out there, and I know Jack is going to talk about another one as well.
Yes, thank you, Nick. I mean, the Roth is very important. You hear us talk about that a lot. I once heard, hey, there's another product. It is called the Rich Person Roth, and what it talks about is, and how to become tax diversified is through life insurance. You know, so what I'm listening for when a client will come in and meet is I'm looking for what is their cash flow contentment on the income side. And if they have their cash flow contentment, and that's covering what their life mission is, okay, maybe they have extra. And when they have extra, and they also have a tax concern, then we start talking about how can we position life insurance to be that tax-free bucket of money that you might eventually want to use, you know? So you start building up this cash value by contributing it for a certain series of years, and then as it grows, you might find yourself in a position where now we can start taking back some of those proceeds and some of that growth as tax-free income. The other thing, because it's life insurance, it has that death benefit. And a lot of these policies can be built with a long-term care situation. We call those hybrid. Hey, you need long-term care. Well, these, you know, life insurance policies can have provisions to make sure they can help pay those costs. So if you're sitting there and you're saying, hey, I have a tax problem, I have cash flow contentment, I'm not sure what to do, please feel free to give us a call. No pressure, no obligation. We can run through some of the specific options that might be interesting for you to know. So thank you so much for watching this show. We appreciate you. Tune in next week, same time, same channel.